This video will discuss different methods for dividing problems. Let's see here, I am collaborating with my son.
Hi.
We're going to discuss standard algorithm or traditional algorithm, partial quotient, and area model. So there are several ways that you may see a division problem shown, and I have represented it here using symbols. Can you help me read those?
Sure. So that would be 54 divided by 9, and then that would be 32 divided by 4.
What about the
The
next one?
next one. And then, yeah, the next one would be read 144 divided by 12.
Okay, good job understanding that the number that's underneath the house, as I call it, is read first. So if I were to ask you to put that long division problem at the end in fraction form, what would you tell me?
I would be, I would put it as 144 over 12.
Okay, and this means the same thing divided by 12. Okay.
Okay.
And what about as just like that first example?
Well, technically, it would be the same thing. It would be 144 divided by 12.
Right, it's just using a different symbol. That's true. Okay.
Yep.
If I'm using a calculator, this is a common error that I see students do. They will try to put it in as 12 divided by 144. That is incorrect. So you always start with, what does this 144 represent?
The dividend.
You always start with your dividend. If it is shown as a fraction, you always start with your numerator. So 144 and then divided by is represented by the fraction bar. Your divisor is 12. And what's the answer to your division problem?
That would be 12.
And what is that called?
The quotient.
Quotient. There you go. Good job. So we're going to move on to our actual examples so we can solve some problems here. The first one is one that I learned way back when I was in school. And this is called the standard traditional algorithm. Okay. So we already discussed that we read it as what's under the house or the division symbol. 2,457 is going to be divided by what's on the outside, which is my divisor, 14 in this instance. So can you walk me through how to solve this problem?
Okay. So basically, 14. Okay, so 14 is smaller than 24. So I have to try and get up to that. Kind of.
Okay.
So 14 times 1 will be 14. Let's see if I can go higher. 14 times 2, that would equal 28. Well, now I can't go any higher because it's already went over 24.
Okay.
So I'm just going to have to go with 14. So I'll put the 1 above the 4, and then I'll multiply 1 times 14. That would be 14, of course. And then you would put that below the 24 and then subtract that, which will give you a 10.
Okay.
And then you will have to put the 5, well, bring the 5 down, and then you will have 105.
Okay.
Now, you should always, if it's a hundreds number, you should always multiply the divisor by 10. So 14 times 10, that would be 140. So that's way too big. So let's cut 10 and the answer in half. The
Okay.
answer would be 70. 10 would be 5.
So that means that my answer has to fall somewhere in between 5 and 10, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let me clarify something you said. You said whenever you have a hundred, then you want to multiply the divisor by 10. Yes, that's something I did tell you whenever if there's two digits out here, and when you're looking at the first two digits, if you can't make groups from that, then you have to go to the third one. So I automatically have you multiply times 10. And what that simply means is one times whatever your divisor is, which in this case is 14, and then you just bring down the zero. So that way it helps you to try to find a range. Is this number closer to 140 or is it closer to half of that numbers. So that's what you're doing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify for those people who didn't understand where you were getting those numbers from.
It's okay. So it's between 5 and 10.
Okay,
So it's not 70, but we have to go higher than that. So 14 times 6, well, that will equal 84. That's still too low. Let's see if I can multiply again. 14 times 7, that would equal 98. And now that's high enough. You can't go any higher.
okay,
So then you would put the 7 above the 5, and then you would put the 98 below the 105, and then you would subtract them, and
okay,
that would be 7.
okay. Now what?
Okay, and now you will have to bring the 7 down, and then you would have to do 70 again because that's the closest you can get.
Okay, so
So that would be 5 up above 7, and then you would subtract 77 by 70, and that would be 7.
all right, so I see that this number is smaller than my divisor, so that means that's really my remainder, right? And in my directions, I asked for two different answers, one with the remainder and one as a decimal. So can you tell me what the actual answer should be with the remainder?
Well, with the remainder, it would be 175 remainder 7.
Okay, remainder 7. All right, so like I said, the second part of the instructions asks for a decimal answer. So can you help me out with that?
Okay, so you would have to put a point zero after the dividend,
Okay,
aka 2,457.
okay,
So that would be a point zero. You will have to bring the zero down, but not the point. The point goes up into your answer.
okay. So right here.
Yes?
Okay, now what?
Okay, now 5, as we did before, 14 times 5 equals 70. So 70 minus 70, well, that would equal 0. And then put the 5 above the 0.
All right, so then my answer as a decimal is,
175.5.
there you go. So see, there's more than one way to show your work. So it just depends on what your directions ask you to do. So please pay attention to that.
Or if your directions doesn't give you any specific way, do it however you feel comfortable.
Or the way your teacher has taught you. So if your teacher has been teaching you with the remainder, then that's the way you do it. But good point. Good point. Okay, so for example 2, we're still dividing, but we're going to use the partial quotient method. So now let me get you started and then you can finish, okay?
Okay.
If you have two digits on the outside, again, what I would stress for my students to do is to look at the dividend and look at the first two digits. Don't even try to worry about the other part because that's going to confuse you for now, okay?
Okay.
Can you see how many times that 43 can go into 87 or 87 be divided by 43? Whichever way is easiest to look at.
Um, yes, 87, 43 times 2 would be 86.
Okay. So do you think we should go up to 3 or stay at that 2?
3 would be above,
Okay.
and
So,
you should already know that because 86 is right up against 87, so that wouldn't make sense.
okay. So then we're going to put a 2 here. Now, a partial quotient, what I do on the inside of my little house here, this little house, I have to do it on the outside as well right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 zeros, which means I'm going to have to also add 1, 2, 3 zeros there.
So to make it 2,000.
2,000. I'm going to move this over so I don't confuse anyone. So that was 43 times 2. And you always want to kind of keep your work over to the side because you might have to go back to it to find a number that's close to whatever you're looking for. All right, so now once I subtract this, I'm going to end up with 1,792. Using that same logic, I have two digits still, but when I look at the two digits here, there's no way I can take 17 and divide it by 43. So then what I would do is go on to the third digit. And now this one is tricky because if I'm only looking at 179, we already know that times 2 is 86. If I doubled that 2, what would happen to that 86? Do you know?
Oh, wait, you were asking me. I was like,
Yes.
I'm still
So
like totally confused right now.
okay, that's why I said I wanted to talk you through it because yeah, you haven't really learned this, but I'm trying to teach you as we go. So what's doubling 2?
Doubling two, that would be four.
Okay, so let's try to double that 2 and make this 4. And that's the same as saying 86 double or 86 plus 86, or I can just multiply 43 times 4. If I did that, then I end up with 172.
And that's close.
Okay, so 172. If I'm only looking at the three digits, now if I'm trying to look at all four, it's going to confuse me. So I'm looking at just those three digits.
And then you will have to add a zero.
I have to add a 0. So I multiplied it times 4, and whatever I did on the inside, I do on the outside.
So you would make it 40.
Makes it 40. Now I subtract that, and I end up with 72. Now, if I look over to the side, well, multiplying times 2 is 86, so that's too big, right?
Yes, so it will only have to be 43.
So it has to be 43, which means I'm multiplying times what?
One.
Times 1.
Just one, two.
Yep. And when I subtract, and the reason he's saying just 1 is because I didn't add any zeros. All right, so now when I subtract this, I have 29. Well, how do I know when to stop? If this number is smaller than my divisor, that is my remainder.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my remainder. Do you think you know what I should do with these numbers on the outside here?
You have to add them to get your whole answer. Otherwise, you just have tons of numbers.
I have an expanded form of a number, yes.
Yes.
So what would that be?
2041.
2041. And what would my remainder be?
21, 29.
29. So this is my final answer, which is known as what?
The quotient.
The quotient.
With the remainder.
The quotient with the remainder. So I'm going to show you two ways to check this. Well, actually, you should know how to check it. So you tell me, and then I'm going to verify in the calculator if it's right. So
okay.
How would you check this to see if it's correct?
So what you would always have to do is add the quotient, not the remainder. I mean, multiply the quotient, not the remainder. Just the quotient. So in this case, 2041 times 43. And then you would have to add 29, the remainder, to that.
And what should it equal?
It should equal, my bad. It should equal the dividend.
Which is what?
Which
thought I was having you multiply all this out and add it?
Yes.
No, I'm going to do that in calculator. Yes, it should equal the dividend. What is my dividend?
The dividend is 87,792.
All right, so let's use your method of what you said that you would do. We're going to pull out the calculator, and I guess it would have helped if I'd written it down. Okay, here it is. 2041 times, you said 43, right?
Yes.
And then the calculator knows the order of operations, so I don't really have to put the parentheses. I'm going to put plus 29. And you said it should equal that dividend of 87,792.
And it did.
Yes. So another way that, and your teachers probably won't show you this way, but this is a way like when you're in high school, for certain types of problems, you may have to understand how this works. So 2041 is your actual answer. Your remainder of 29 is going to be divided by whatever your divisor is. So that's one way of looking at it. And then if you put just this part in the calculator, it will give you like, let's do it. 29 divided by 43 here. Okay, where's my calculator? Oh, it's right in my face. Okay, 29 divided by 43 is going to give you that answer, which is if you were to take, what was I trying to do? 87792 divided by 43. You will notice after the decimal, it gives you this 674419. Do you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it tells you that the 2041, but see this part, if you were to just put this in a calculator to begin with, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what's this 0.674419? Well, that's equivalent to your remainder over the divisor. The only difference is they rounded once they got to this point. So instead of 86, the 6 made this turn into a 9. Okay. That was giving you too much information. So let's just move on
I
to,
can understand how that's just high school math.
right.
I understand that nothing of it.
That's okay. You'll, once you get to high school, it'll make more.
Oy.
All right. So, and the last example we're going to discuss is the area model. So, and for those elementary teachers that teach this different, please don't come for me. I'm a high school teacher trying to help my son here. And okay, so what you want to do is your area model is you want to draw a box. And some people draw it in advance and some people just wait and draw it as they're going. I've already listed on the labeled on the outside what goes where. So the divisor is what?
The divisor would be 3.
So that's what's going on the outside. And what's my dividend?
6,174.
So that's going to go here. Now, the way that I would teach you or anyone else is since there's just one digit on the outside, look at the first digit that comes. All right. And you see that 6 is actually divisible by 3. By what?
By what?
3. I'm sorry. I need to rephrase that. 3 times what will give me 6?
Oh, 3 times 2.
All right, so 3 times 2 is 6, and it just happens to be 6. If that was a 7, you could still use 2, but then of course you would have to subtract 7 from 6 and get a different number. So what do I need to do for the 174 underneath it? What do I need to add?
You,
What am I adding here?
what are you adding? Would it be zeros?
Right, how many?
Oh, okay. 3.
3 zeros. I know you probably haven't seen this in a while. I never even learned this when I was in school.
I
So
haven't learned
anyway,
this ever since 3rd grade.
oh, well, that was a long time ago. All right, so if you added 3 zeros here, you're going to have to also add those same 3 zeros on the outside. So basically, to me, it looks just like this one, except it's just instead of it being on the side, it's above. That's how I see it, but some people don't see it that way. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract this, and this is 174. I take the 174 and I move it to the next box. I'm going to use this same method. I can't take 1 and divide it by 3, so I'm going to take 17. So 17 divided by 3 is what?
7. Wait, what?
Or 3 times what can get me close to 17?
Oh, that would be what was it? Oh yeah, 5.
Okay. So 3 times 5 is what?
3 times 5 equals 15.
And what do I need to put in a place under 4?
You would a 0.
All right, so if I put a 0 there, where else do I put the 0?
You would have to put a 0 up on the 5.
Near the 5, okay? And so now I'm going to subtract and I end up with 24. Take this 24, I move it to the next box. What's 24 divided by 3?
24 divided by 3, that would equal 8.
Okay. And then I multiply 8 times 3, that's 24. And I see that I have 0 remainder, so I can stop. But if I didn't, if this number was bigger than my divisor, I would keep going. So I would just create another box. What do you do now? How do I get my final answer?
You have to add it. The same thing with the previous model.
Okay. So
Oh, you you
what's
yep.
my answer?
That would be 2058.
2058. And again, if I wanted to check this quotient, how would I check it?
You would add the quotient plus the divide. I mean, you would multiply the quotient and the divisor, and then it should give you the dividend.
All right. So in this case, the quotient is 2058, and I'm going backwards. So I'm going to multiply it times the divisor, and it's going to equal this, right? That's what you're saying?
Yep.
So let's try that on the calculator. 2058 times 3. Oops. I guess I need my zero. Times 3, and it should equal 6174.
Yes.
6174. There you go. All right, so that concludes our demonstrations of the various ways of dividing problems. You have anything else you want to say?
Uh, oh yeah. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you do not miss any new math videos that will help you out.
All right, thank you for assisting me. Y'all have a great one.
Bye.